This particular figure gives us insights to a disorder called erythroblastosis fetalis, or hemolytic disease of the newborn. Erythroblastosis, destruction of red blood cells in the fetus. And how does this come about? The answer is because of immune system response. Remember, our immune systems produce antibodies to antigens that are foreign. And let's look in more detail at what's happening here. The only way this disorder arises is if the mother is Rh negative and the father is Rh positive. Okay, it won't work in any other way. In other words, if the mother is Rh positive, this disorder will not develop. If the father is Rh negative and the mother is either Rh negative or Rh positive, the disorder will not result. So it's only in this specific combination. And that's why Rh negative mothers are frequently treated for the possibility of this disorder upon the birth of their child. So what happens here? Remember, the Rh phenotype, positive or negative, is controlled by genetics. And so if we have an Rh positive father and an Rh negative mother, then it's either 50% possible or 100% possible, depending on the genetics of the father, that the child will be Rh positive. If the child is Rh positive, then we have a potential problem. So what's the nature of that problem? Remember that the mother's immune system produces antibodies to antigens that are foreign. Now, you have to remember also that the fetus is half foreign genetic material. So given the opportunity, the mother's immune system would destroy the fetus every time. But the uterus is a protected place. If, however, there's any mixing of maternal and fetal blood, remember their circulatory systems are separate, but if there's any mixing, then what will happen is there can be the opportunity of the mother's system being exposed to those positive, Rh positive fetal cells. Now, that most commonly happens at birth because there is going to be bleeding and there's going to be mixing of the blood. If it happens at birth, it's not a problem for this particular fetus because the child will be born before the mother's immune system mounts a response. But what has happened in essence is she has been immunized to the Rh positive antigen. So consequently, she produces antibodies, anti-Rh antibodies for that particular antigen. Okay, now in a subsequent pregnancy, if the fetus is again Rh positive, then those antibodies can actually cross the placenta and start attacking fetal red blood cells and destroying them. So if those fetal red blood cells are destroyed, then the child will develop symptoms of anemia. If enough red blood cells are destroyed, then the child could potentially die in utero, or the child would be born severely anemic and maybe require a transfusion of blood right at the very beginning. Okay, so that's the problem. How is this problem dealt with? As I mentioned before, for Rh negative mothers, frequently they're given an injection of something called RhoGAM. RhoGAM are Rh antibodies. Now, why would it be helpful to give an Rh negative mother who's just given birth to a child Rh antibodies? Because if you give her antibodies, her immune system didn't respond. The foreign cells will be attacked and destroyed, but not by sensitizing the mother's immune system. So consequently, it's like she's never been introduced to those cells before. So at the subsequent pregnancy, she would not have circulating Rh antibodies. The antibodies that were injected in her would ultimately be degraded over time, and her body would not be producing new antibodies. So consequently, it would not pose a problem. So I've had a number of students that have told me that they've received RhoGAM injections during the pregnancy. They've also received RhoGAM injections after giving birth. And in cases, they told me they never even inquired about the blood type of the father. It's just such an easy way to prevent any possibility of problems that it's better to just give the Rh negative mother the injections of RhoGAM without even worrying about what the phenotype of the father was. So I hope that's helpful for you and a better understanding is provided about this particular disorder.